Our tax cut compared to his plan, I'll give you one number, is 4 times larger this year. Is 4 times larger. These numbers are a joke. We aren't in a joke. We are in the worst crisis of our lives. It takes a serious government. It takes a serious plan. It takes a plan that delivers today. It takes a plan that delivers investment. It takes a plan that grows this economy, stands up to Trump, and moves forward with the brilliance of the workers here and across Quebec and across Canada.
So I'm not really a finance chicken. I have to remind myself sometimes how to calculate percentages and whatnot. But near as I can tell, both the Conservatives and the Liberals are planning on running deficits for the next 4 years, which makes sense. Canada is still trying to recover from various problems caused by certain events in 2020 that really messed up all of the finances. Also, I'll be careful while I say this, but essentially, a mass disabling event happened. On top of that, the rich decided to revolt, because the rich are revolting, and cause a great deal of greedflation that no government body successfully managed to tamp down. You drag them into a dark room, you put a fan in front of a light, and then you threaten them. That's how you deal with them. Who would have thought that letting a few sociopathic CEOs with access to socially negligent AI models could possibly have negative consequences? Anyway, the striking difference that I haven't heard anyone talk about is Carney's budget is for $130 billion in spending, which is a lot, but the Attack Chihuahuas plan is to spend $110 billion. That's a really similar number. That's a roughly 15% difference, which to me is crazy because the Liberal platform is like, we're going to expand dental and drug coverage and we're going to ramp things up in housing and build 500,000 new homes a year. I did a quick Google and Canada, as of 2021, had nearly 15 million houses. Now, the Liberal plan uses the word home, so we're probably going with some multi-dwelling units that'll be called multiple homes, which is fine. It's also important to remember that if you suddenly flood the housing market, which I don't think is even really possible, you'd have a bunch of people who banked on selling their houses and using the money in retirement, complaining that their value of their house dropped. So yes, we need to solve it as fast as possible, but no, we also do not want to create a financial collapse in the housing market. But I don't even know that we technically could do that. Unfortunately, capitalism often functions like a snake eating its own tail, and it just keeps eating, but you have to stop it from eating itself. But these tiny little things called people live on the snake, and they're like, we need the red stuff that comes out of it to pay our bills. And then you have to be like, tiny little people living on the snake, you can have some of the red stuff, but not all of the red stuff. Otherwise, there will be no new red stuff in the future because the snake will not be alive anymore, and it'll just become a carcass, and you do not want to try and pay your bills with carcass. And then one very tiny loud human pipes up and they start talking about the need to axe the narrator in this metaphor, and that kind of got away from me. But it's worth noting that much of the Liberal spending is being spun as investment, which makes sense. You don't worry about a deficit when you're talking about taking a mortgage out, for example, because you presume that the house is going to appreciate in value, and you're also going to have a place to sleep and eat and play video games from owning that house. And a lot of what the Liberals' plan seems to be is centered on putting money in that will continue to drive demand and functionally create more money, because that money then goes out to other places and then it gets out spent on housing. That's kind of how economies are supposed to work. Really, economic slowdown primarily happens when we allow the wealthy to hoard their wealth like dragons. When you go to work and you earn a paycheck and then you cash that check, you have some that you might save for retirement, but most of your money is going to go into buying food, shelter, and Apple products. That's how everybody spends their money, right? I'm a normal person, and I'm good at budgeting. The Conservative budget is only 15% less than the Liberals' budget, but you don't get the CBC anymore. You also don't get his 15% of 15% tax cut until I think it's like year 4, which actually makes the Liberals 1% off the actual number that you pay in taxes for the lowest bracket really look a lot better, and I think be cheaper for everyone. The Conservatives also suggest that part of how they'd pay for everything they plan on paying for will be with magic money. It's not money that the government already has, but they think that because they're going to get rid of all the red tape and all this other stuff, they're just going to suddenly have more money. I think they think it's going to trickle down to the government. I wonder if their strategy is just to set up a Patreon. Speaking of which, I set up a Patreon. You can't currently give me any money on it yet, but you can go there and become a free follower so that if I ever have my account taken down, like keeps happening to a lot of people on this app, and then I reshare their posts when they say that their account got taken down because I'm really scared of losing all of my followers at some point, then I could reach out to you directly and be like, hey, here's my new account. There's a link to that in the bio. Also, shout out to Rachel Gilmore, who pointed out that a large chunk of the conservative platform was just pictures of Pierre and his wife. I hate to break it to you guys, but you seem to have confused a platform with a Christmas card.